5. One of my brothers is a Baptist Christian, and my other brothers and sisters consider themselves Muslim.
I was born in 1957 in Miller, Georgia, Macon, Georgia. My parents, George Eason, my mother, Pearlie Eason. They were 11 parents, and I had 8 brothers and sisters.
My parents divorced when I was 3, and I lived with my mother in California up until I was 13. Then I went to go live with my father. My father was a very strict Muslim. It was like a 180-degree turnaround from living with my mother. My mother wasn't really strict in her faith, so it was kind of easy to just go along with society and the culture of America, living under her household. When I went to go live with my father, it was like he was really strict. He made me read the Quran every morning. He made me pray when I was younger, and he made sure that I stayed away from all the parties and whatnot of my teenage life in America.
This was a part of my life. You have to understand. You have to put it in the context of the times. There was the middle of the 70s, and the area of the United States that I was living in, the South. And there's a lot of history. If you don't know the history, that's when the races, blacks and white, was separated. And there was a lot of discrimination going on. And at this time, blacks were demanding their rights. And, they were making connection to Africa and, the liberation struggle that was going on across the so-called third world. And I, as a young man, was interested in what was going on, and I read a lot. I read the autobiography of Malcolm X, and Malcolm X tells about his conversion to Islam, him going to Mecca, and being a Muslim. And so this influenced me, and I didn't know it at the time that I too would become a Muslim. And I think just reading his autobiography, his story, had a great, profound influence on my life.
To be honest, when I was younger, I really didn't consider myself Muslim. I was just going through the formalities of what my parents wanted me to do. I was living a very purposeless lifestyle, just going to school, partying, hanging out, chasing behind the fast women, all that fun stuff. And just sitting at home alone at night, not knowing, what my life was meant for. I started to read the Quran, and in my search for the truth, I found that Islam was indeed the truth for me.
So my family, I think they were more concerned for me. So they really didn't embrace the idea of me becoming a Muslim. But later on, after they saw my commitment and my dedication, and they understood that this was how Islam had changed my life, because I was a troubled teenager. I was 18 years old when I became a Muslim. Up in that time, I was pretty wild, I would say. But my family saw that Islam changed me from being wild to a respectable young man.
My brothers and sisters, I don't think they're as strict in their faith as they would like to be. I think that the cultural influence is getting the best of them. My sister, she tends to dress according to American cultural standards and not American standards, and so does their children.
I was concerned when I became a Muslim because my father, I recall, he thought it was a sign of, especially when I changed my name, that I was rejecting him. So he wasn't too thrilled about that because my family name is Eason. But when I became Muslim, I took on the name Salam. because of the meaning, the attributes of that, meaning peace. Also, it was a rejection of what I considered a slave name that had been given to my foreparents from their slave masters. So I rejected that, and I took on a name that I thought was more suitable and more in line to who I was. So there was some pushback from my family, because, like I said, my father thought I was rejecting him, but in which I really wasn't. I was just rejecting some of the ideas that I no longer could agree with. Became a Muslim in 1975, out of high school, worked several jobs, was making some progress, lost a job, and then I turned, as many people, do. The military was available, and I turned to the military. I joined the military in 1982.
When I decided to accept Islam, within 2 weeks, I called my brothers and sisters and parents, and I was just explaining to them my spiritual awakening and how I knew that Islam was true without any doubts. And I started to just explain to them my spiritual awakening and that how Islam should be their lifestyle choice as well. My sisters, they kind of was like, okay, thanks for sharing, Mustafa. My brother was like, you know what, I'm Baptist and that's how it's going to be. When I called my father and my mother and told them about it, they were really pleased, of course. And they were really encouraging. They encouraged me to keep reading the Quran, keep praying, and keep extending my knowledge about Islam and the practices and the traditions that come along with it. When I was in a relationship with my girlfriend at the time, it was quite difficult. We've been together quite a long time, and we've been through some things, and we're actually considering being married. And when I told her that I was going to start being Muslim, and it really weighed heavy on her. Once I started to practice Islam, she didn't consider becoming Muslim at all. I tried to encourage her to read the Quran, but it just wasn't something that she wanted to do. So we kind of agreed without really agreeing to just go our separate ways.
لم يكن لداود أي نية لإيجاد حياة مهنية خارج نطاق الجيش الأمريكي.
This was to be a short thing, 3 years, and maybe go back to school and finish school or something like that. But it ended up being 20 years. It turned out to be.
My experiences in the military has differed from good, bad, ugly. I have developed some strong friendships, some strong bonds that I know that I would take with me to the grave and that I would not have been able to develop and experience anywhere else. I've experienced some ugly things as well. When I first went into training back in 2008, I remember clearly during one of our battle drills that they were playing surahs from the Holy Quran over the loudspeakers, and the adhan as well, the call to prayer, while we were shooting weapons and practicing our infantry maneuvering skills. After I had a very practicing our infantry maneuvering skills. That had a very profound impact on me. It really scared me and disturbed me while I was doing the battle drills that I actually ran over there and I unplugged the loudspeaker and I kind of caused a little ruckus, and I talked to the supervisors. I talked to my supervisors at the time, and I explained to them that you're linking Islam with warfare, that as if we're fighting Islam and just not a good idea. They just kind of blew me off, you know, low-ranking soldier, no big deal. Nobody cares about your complaint. I felt like, looking back, I felt like that situation early in my military career foreshadowed other incidents or events or circumstances that I would experience throughout my time in the service. I've experienced incidents where seniors, supervisors blatantly put me on display in front of troops, attacking Islam, linking Islam with the terrorism and violence and hate. And as a young soldier, as a young troop, I didn't know really how to respond to those type of circumstances and situations. So it led me to develop a lot of resentment and frustration and anger in my heart, and it really had an impact on my career.
كان الوقت مختلفا عندما انضم داوود إلى الجيش، فلم يكن هنالك قلق كونه مسلما في الجيش.
I had no trepidation, no fears about joining the army because I was a Muslim. At that time, the focus wasn't on Muslims or Islam. The focus was on the Soviet Union and communism and the Cold War. So, I mean, there was no harassment that I endured because I was a Muslim, you know. So I had no concern at that time. I entered the Army in September 1982. September, 19 years later, we had September 11, 2001. And things changed for many people. But for me, I really didn't see the change because I was within the last year of my military service. And at that time, I had rose to the rank of Master Sergeant, and I had special duty towards the end, the last year of my military service. So I really wasn't in an everyday unit per se. I was doing special duties. So my interaction and with fellow soldiers were really limited. And I had received this assignment before September 11, 2001. And so things really didn't change for me as an individual. I did my job. I just finished my time and I retired in September 2002. I really wasn't aware of the problems that many Muslims faced while after 9/11, who were in the military in 2001. You know, but I can imagine, you know, with the atmosphere, the tension that was going on, I can imagine that some Muslims may have faced some trying times being in the military, just by them being Muslim, being associated with the events that had happened, even though they themselves didn't have anything to do with that. I just can imagine, you know, with just knowing the history of the United States, of the American people, you know, I just can't imagine it probably was difficult for many of them. But for me, I go back to, I personally didn't really face it because maybe because my interaction was limited, and maybe because of who I was. I really don't know what to attribute that to.
I would discuss with my superiors some of the issues that I was dealing with, some of the comments I was hearing, some of the disrespect. And basically, it was taken simply as name calling, that I should have thicker skin, that I should have let it roll off my shoulders. I don't think they had a full understanding of the complexity of the situation of the pain and the suffering that it caused me as an individual, as a Muslim, as an American, as a soldier, to dedicate my life, my bloodshed, my sweat to my country, and yet still within my own organization that I have dedicated my life to experience these type of attacks on me, whether they were blatant or subtle. So I don't think they really fully understood, and it was kind of just blown off as, you know, Bilal keep pushing. And for me, it just developed into me having an attitude. It's just a cause and effect. My heart became very resentful and angry and upset and frustrated. And despite my scores on the entry exams, despite my college credits, despite my physical fitness and my weapons qualifications, I've never been to the promotion board. I earned the title soldier with an attitude, you know, the soldier who gets in trouble, or the soldier who doesn't respond well to authority. But in reality, looking back, it was just me as a human being not knowing how to deal with the hatred and the subtle and blatant disrespect for my spirituality.
يمضي كلا الرجلين في حياتهما، فداود عنصر فعال في المجتمع، وإيمان مصطفى جلب له السلام والفهم والتسامح.
And when I retired, I wanted to continue to serve. So I found a way to serve. I completed my undergraduate studies and my master's degree studies and graduate studies. I have a master's degree in social work, and I'm a school social worker at this time. And I just like to keep busy with my family. I'm the father of 4, and I have a wife, my beautiful wife, Cynthia. We've been married for 29 years. I just try to stay active in the Muslim community. I've been past president of the Islamic Society here in Colorado Springs. And so I'm quite active I attend the mosque normally every day, at least once or twice a day. So I am on the board of directors of the court-appointed special advocate, CASA, which advocate for children who are in the court system due to abuse by their family members. And I'm on the board of directors of that, and I have been for the last 3 years. And also I have tried to reach out and work with the member of the Christian and the Jewish community, and that's why I'm working in the community garden.
I consider myself malcontent, not at the beginning of my career in the military, but towards the midpoint, when I really got caught up in dealing with the issues I was facing, with being Muslim in the military, deployment stress, and just life in general. I think it all just compiled to a state of just unhappiness with me being in the service at that point in time. But I don't consider myself malcontent anymore at all. Nah, I'm actually quite happy to be part of the military. I've been blessed to do a lot more studying and increasing my knowledge and my patience. And I've really been able recently to rid my heart of the resentment and the anger and the frustration and placing blame. And I was really able to heal recently.
I think this is we're at a crucial time here in the United States. I think many of the non-Muslims in this country really do not understand who the Muslims are and what Islam is. You know, so if a poll was taken today, the majority of the non-Muslim in this country probably have a negative idea about Muslims. because they don't really know they're Muslim. And we as Muslims have to take some responsibility for that, because many of us are, we don't share who we are with our neighbors. And I think if we did a better job of that, they will come to, our non-Muslim neighbors will come to know that in general, we're just like they are, we're just like them. So there'll be less tension between the communities once we get to know each other. And what I would like to know, my Muslim brothers and sisters in Algeria and throughout the Muslim world to know, is that the Muslims in America, we are serious about our Islam. We are thankful to Allah that Islam has come to us, and we wouldn't trade it for any other system. Islam, we believe, is the best, and there's no need to apologize for that. And this is what I believe, and that's what I think many Muslims in this country believe.